Hey everyone, I'm Ace of Clay. I'm a sculptor, and every week I make a new sculpture. Today we're in the hidden world and you get to meet the next character, the false guide. Now it's been a minute since we've been to the hidden world, but I knew when I came back to it, I wanted to release a character that was completely different than the others I've released so far, and this guy is pretty cool. This is the false guide, so he is a fake guide. He is not a mutant, he's not an anti-mutant, he is not a guide, he's not a wanderer, he is a completely unique character with his own entire backstory. So I will be sharing all of that with you throughout this entire video, so make sure you watch the whole thing. And before we get started, my next hidden world product is here. Winston the Rabbit Guide is back as a keychain, a glow-in-the-dark keychain. This is him in his box with the little viewing window. The box features a synopsis of the hidden world as well as Winston's backstory. And out of the box, he looks like this. He's got a purple strap with his name on it. It says Winston the Rabbit Guide right here, and on the other side it says the hidden world. The keychain also features a tiny hidden world charm, lobster claw clasp, and of course the man himself, Winston the Rabbit Guide. His mask glows in the dark and he's got all of his tiny little details. This guy is barely 2 inches tall. He is so cute, and now you can take him everywhere. So if you want one of these are a limited edition and I will not be restocking them, so head on over to aceofclay.com and grab them before he's gone. I really hope you like this product. I worked really hard on it. The whole thing is designed by me and I think it turned out really darn cool, and he's so cute. I just can't get over how cute he turned out. And now without further ado, let's meet the false guide. Alright, let's get started. I've got a wooden base here with some pre-drilled holes, and I'm shaping out the armature with some 10-gauge aluminum armature wire. And if you're not familiar with the hidden world, it is a universe of original characters that I've created, and each one has their own unique backstory and lore. Be sure to check out the Hidden World playlist on my channel if you need to catch up. In the far reaches of the hidden world, where shadows cling to the ruins of forgotten cities and the air tastes of rust, a figure moves silently through the fog. Some say it's a guide, a wise wanderer who helps the lost find their way out of the hidden world in the grasp of the mutants. But those who know better call it by its true name, the false guide. Now we're going to finish bulking out the torso with our ultralight and get this in the oven. Once it's baked and completely cooled down, we're going to start covering it in our final layer of clay. This is Super Sculpting Original. Just want to get that over the ultralight and then bend the legs into their final positions and brush them with Bacon Bond and start covering them in clay too. Now this character is going to have a sort of one-piece outfit. I guess you could even call it like a onesie with the footies attached to it. So it's all going to be just like one outfit with a bunch of wrinkles on it, and then there's going to be a robe on top of it that we'll get to later. So now I'm just adding a bunch of folds and wrinkles to it with some snakes of clay. Legend speaks of this figure appearing when travelers are at their most desperate, when hope has slipped between the cracks of fear. It wears a hooded robe of tattered dark brown fabric that seems to merge with the shadows, making it hard to tell where the darkness ends and the figure begins. Its face is always hidden behind a gold mask, the surface glinting unnaturally, even in the absence of light. The mask is not ornate or decorative. It is a rough, emotionless facade, the only semblance of life in its deep, narrow eye slits that burn black. The edges of the mask are worn, yet the gleam never fades. Once the main part of their body is complete, we're just going to pop on their neck. Now we're going to add the arms using the same process as the legs.
Its hands are long and bony, the fingers unnaturally slender and tipped with gold, like claws dipped in molten metal. The way they move is mesmerizing, drawing your gaze whether you wish it or not. These fingers, people say, have a magic of their own. Now I'm working my way onto the sleeves. These are going to be 3/4 sleeves, and then of course we got to add some more wrinkles to those too. Once the sleeves are finished up, we're going to take a break and start working on the robes. I'm making these out of cos clay so they stay flexible because they're going to be free hanging thin sheets of clay. We're just going to texture them with, yes you guessed it, more folds and wrinkles before we attach them. For the false guide is no mere wanderer. It is a fox in spirit, embodying the cunning and guile of its animal counterpart, but twisted beyond recognition by the corruptive forces of the hidden world. It thrives on deception, leading the unwary down paths they should never tread, speaking words that promise safety, but deliver only doom. As you can see, I just applied long snakes of clay on the surface and I'm blending them in with my spoon tool. The robes are going to be created and added in 3 separate pieces, so we're just going to add the 2 side pieces first and then we'll make the back side later on.
Alright, we're going to take a quick break from our video to talk about our sponsor, BetterHelp. I always have so much going on with my business and in my personal life, and it can be a lot after a while. I feel like I'm doing too much, and then I feel like I'm not doing enough, and then eventually I just get so overwhelmed that I freeze. When that happens, that can lead to things like anxiety, depression, and so on. Talking to a therapist allows me to work through my struggles. With BetterHelp, you get a safe space to talk where you can share what's on your mind, whether it's stress, sadness, worries, or relationship issues, without fear of judgment. The therapist, a trained mental health professional, is there to listen, answer questions, and help you see things from new perspectives. There's a journal inside the platform for personal reflection, and there are group sessions available every day on a number of different topics. Fill out a questionnaire and you will match with a therapist in as little as a couple of days. One of the best features about BetterHelp is that if your first therapist isn't the right fit, you can switch to another one until you find one you really connect with. They carefully make sure all of their therapists are well qualified and their customer care team is available if you have any questions at all. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. So if you're struggling and you feel like you could benefit from a therapy session, head on over to the link in the description box below or go to betterhelp.com/aceofclay. That's better, H-E-L-P. Doing so helps support this channel and gets you 10% off your first month of therapy.
Now for the head. We're going to ball up some foil and cover that in clay and start sculpting the features. This false guide is going to be based on a fox, so we're just going to make a sort of geometric fox mask for it. Those who have followed it, their story is now told only in whispers, describe a voice that is both soothing and sharp, like a knife wrapped in silk. It speaks to your deepest fears and desires, offering you a way out, promising to guide you through the wastelands where the mutants hunt and the earth itself shifts underfoot. It will tell you it knows the way to shelter, to water, to places untouched by the chaos, and for a time, it will seem true. The way will appear clear, the dangers distant. So just like the good guides, we're going to keep the mask relatively simple, except I'm going to add a texture to it and it's not going to be white. And here I'm using my super poker to add that texture I was just talking about. But as you follow, a strange sensation grows inside you, a tightening in your chest that you can't quite shake. The land around you feels wrong, subtly changing in ways that don't make sense. The sun sets too quickly or never rises, Landmarks disappear, leaving only unfamiliar terrain. You might look back and see nothing but empty fog, where once there was a clear path. That's when the false guide's true nature begins to reveal itself. The fox-like cunning comes through as it leads you further from the familiar. All the while, its voice becomes more insistent, more commanding. You might question it, but by then it's too late. The more you ask, the more you lose your grip on reality. And as you can see, I'm making the hands out of cosplay as well, so I don't have to put armature wire in each of the fingers. Just due to the position of the hand, I want to add each finger separately just so it's easier to do and it looks better. Now we're just going to take some Super Sculpey Original and we're going to create some wrappings all up the arm. I imagine their entire body is wrapped up in this and they just put the cloak over the top. After creating the back of the robes off camera, we're just going to attach them now and blend them into the front ones. For the hood, I'm just taking this flat piece of clay and sort of measuring, trying to figure out the size that I need, and then I'm going to shape it in my fingertips off of the head, and then we're going to stick it on. And then to finish off the neck area, we're going to extend his collar with a couple more bands of clay. Suddenly, you realize that the landscape you once trusted has now become a nightmare. The ground shifts beneath your feet, the trees twist into grotesque shapes, and the air becomes thick with the scent of decay. But you cannot turn back. The false guide stands before you, now motionless, its gold mask glowing with a sickly light. It points with one of those long, gold-tipped fingers toward a path that leads into the very heart of the mutant territory, where the most twisted and horrific creatures dwell. Like I mentioned earlier, the outfit is all one piece, including the shoes. So we're just going to sculpt those and blend them in with a little snake of clay, add a nice little wrinkle on top of each one. And here lies its true power. The false guide does not kill directly. It leads its victims to their death, offering them up to the ravenous mutants that infest the darkest corners of the world. These creatures are mindless, savage beings driven by hunger and rage. They wait, lurking in the shadows just beyond the guide's pointing hand, waiting for the travelers to stumble into their grasp. After popping on the ears, I'm just going to add a tiny snake of clay around each one so it creates the opening in the hood for them to peek out. For the final step, I'm going to use my Bacon Bond brush to stipple on some Bacon Bond to give it a nice rough texture. And then we're going to bake it. Alright, let's get this in the oven. And once they're baked and completely cooled down, it's time for paint. I'm using some cheap craft acrylics, and we're going to start by painting all of the clothing this nice shade of dark brown. Those rare few who have survived an encounter with the false guide speak of its eyes. Beneath the mask, they say, flickers the soul of a creature that knows no mercy, only cold calculation. It watches, waiting for the moment of ultimate despair before it vanishes into the mist, leaving its victims to the inevitable. And after I got that first layer of brown on, I'm going in with a darker brown and adding a wash over the surface and wiping off the excess with a paper towel. This darker wash is going to get into all the nooks and crannies and bring out the detail. Once my wash is done and completely dry, we're going to dry brush some lighter brown on the surface to bring out the detail even more. Despite the terror it inspires, there are still those foolish or desperate enough to seek it out. Rumors persist that the false guide can be summoned if one knows the right incantations or follows certain rituals. Some say it can be bargained with, that it will only lead you astray if you show weakness. But these are just stories, whispered by those who have never truly faced the fox behind the mask. After painting the mask black, we're going to go in with a nice dark gray color for the arms. To highlight the arms, I'm going in with a lighter gray and dry brushing it onto the surface. Super satisfying. In the end, the false guide is an embodiment of all that is treacherous in the hidden world. It is a shadow on the periphery of hope, a gold mask gleaming in the dark, waiting to lead the lost and the forsaken into the jaws of death. And when it does, the only thing that remains is the echo of its footsteps in the fog, fading as quickly as the lives it claims. And that is the story of the false guide. And for the last step there, you can see that I dry brushed some of that metallic gold on the mask and the tips of his fingers. Now we're painting up the base. Now say it with me.
And he's done! The false guide is complete. Let me know how you think I did in the comments. I think this guy is pretty cool. I like the idea of there being a false guide that sort of tricks you into thinking things that aren't really true and all that. I also love that he's a fox because foxes are typically untrustworthy, sly characters. I definitely think he fits into the hidden world, and I really hope you like how he turned out. So again, let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching and being here. Don't forget to grab your little Winston keychains at aceofclay.com. Check me out on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok at aceofclay, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.